You are now tuned in to Go Time Dolphins with Charlie Touche and Kadeem Simmons, the Miami Dolphins podcast that's for the fans and by the fans.
Gotta make them lose their mind when it's your time. And it's show time. Going all out when it's go time. Go. I ain't wasting no time. Gotta make them lose their mind when it's show time. Cause it's your time. Lay it on the line when it's go time. Go. Don't waste no time.
Charlie and listeners of Go Time Dolphins, I would advise you to turn down your volume right now because it's about to get loud. 2 seconds.
This guy got the surprises. Hey!
Hey, game
Let's
7.
go.
Game 7.
Hey, Kadeem has like the pots and pans out. Made me feel all the way Miami again. You know what I'm saying? Got the heat shirt on, banging on a pot. Kadeem, who told you about that, man? Who taught you that?
Charlie, I am a Miami fan. I try and I try and learn as much as I can about the fan base of the Dolphins, the Panthers, the Heat. You know, just because I live in London doesn't mean I can't get engrossed in Miami culture.
That's wild, man. Listen, the Miami Heat pull off the unthinkable. And it's not beat the Celtics 4-0. It's not a sweep. Like, that would have been unthinkable too. They had to take it down to a game 6 buzzer beater where we almost pulled that off, but no, we didn't. And I'm full discretion. I didn't think we was gonna put it off in game 7. When a team beats you like that in game 6, bro, I'll be real with you. I didn't put it on social media. I didn't say nothing like that. But I told Sherrod Steve, I told my group chat, I'm like, listen, when Ray Allen hit that game 6 shot, did y'all think we were gonna lose against San Antonio the next game? Absolutely not. So when we lost like that in game 6 against Boston, I didn't think we had a chance, bro. And then we pulled it off, and now we're playing Denver.
You were nervous at 3-1, weren't you? Like, once they got that first win, you was like, I don't like this.
For those who know, or for those who don't, I went to game 4 of the Panthers Carolina Hurricanes game, and I also went to game 4 of the Heat versus Boston game. When I went to the game 4 of the Boston Heat game, bro, when we lost, I thought it was over then. And I am not, you know, I'm not a negative person, Kadeem. I just like, yo, they won 1. They're going back to Boston. Now that's 2. That's momentum. So now game 5 is going to feel like a game 7. Game 6 is going to feel like a game 7. And then ultimately we had game 7 feel like a game 7. So I thought we were in trouble at game 4. I'm like, yo, I would have much rather them win game 3 and then the Heat win game 4, because now the Heat could feel like, yo, we gotta close them out. You know what I'm saying? But to be up 3 games, the Heat take their foot off the gas, and then the other team builds momentum. I did not like it, Kadeem, bro. I was absolutely nervous. Everyone close to me knows it. And I was like, yo, I'm unbiased, bro. I give my honest opinion. I'm not just gonna be like, oh, that he's gonna win this. Let's do it. You know what I'm saying? Like, nah, bro. I was like, yo, we're in trouble. And to be fair, we absolutely were in trouble. But yeah, man. It's Go Time Dolphins, the Miami Dolphins podcast that goes not only across the pond, but across the world. I'm your boy, Charlie Touche. I got my co-host, Kadeem Simmons, with me. It's always for the fans and by the fans. Your favorite podcast. And today we have a guest. So it's not all about the Heat, and it's not all about the Panthers. It's still about the Dolphins here on Go Time Dolphins. And joining us today with us on the show is NFL freelancer Thomas Valentine. What up, bro?
Hey, what's going on, guys? Thanks for having me.
Instead of applause.
Cheers. Love that.
Okay. You know what, we might have to adopt that for the show. Get the pots and pans out for the guests. Since we don't have an applause drop, we could give them the Miami celebration. That might be a thing. Very good, Junior Grasshopper.
Thank you very much.
What's up, Thomas? Hey, I think I picked up an accent, and I think the fans might have picked up an accent as well. Tell us where you're from, bro.
So I'm living in Glasgow. I've lived here for 18 years now, but born and raised in Dagenham, just outside London, so not too far from where Kadeem is. But I've been in Scotland for pretty much 3/4 of my life now.
I was just about to say, let our American fans know. I know where Glasgow is because of UFC fighter Paul Craig. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's my dog.
Oh, yeah.
He's from Scotland, jiu-jitsu practitioner. As the resident jiu-jitsu practitioner of the show, you know what I'm saying? Like, I gotta know things like that. But yeah, Paul Craig is from Scotland. Yeah, man, I might have to make my way up there. You know what I'm saying? Like, I gotta see Scotland, man. That's what's up. But we got you on the podcast today, bro. We appreciate you coming on. Recently, you put out an article of what is it? The 25 players under 25?
Yeah, the top 25 players under the age of 25. In my head, it was like 25 under 25. That's catchy.
Yeah,
it didn't read that way in my head, but
bro, it's quite the read, bro. Like, and you're gonna see players on there, and it's like, yo, I don't know how too many people could debate this. But Kadeem, you want to chime in real quick?
Yeah. So I've known Tom for the best part of maybe 6-7 years. We initially met playing Madden, and then obviously just spoke about NFL for quite a while. And yeah, he's a fan of the Dolphins in terms of like he likes what we do sometimes, and it's like, hey, not quite sure why we've done that. So we've had loads of conversations about Christian Wilkins, Jalen Phillips, obviously friend of the podcast, Javon Holland, Tua a lot because it's difficult not to speak about Tua. But yeah, when Tom done this article, and spoiler alert, some Dolphins players featured in it, I thought it just made sense to get him on, have him discuss why he picked them, why they are where they are, and you know, it's further proof that while the Dolphins are in win now mode, they do have some very talented youngsters to keep them going for the next few years at the very least.
Kadeem has the Miami Heat shirt on, and it's putting a smile on my face. Like, I'm still taken aback by what's going on in South Florida sports, and to just get a championship in basketball, potentially hockey, and we're now talking about football. I'm just happy to be in the building. I ain't even gonna lie to you. And hopefully the Denver Nuggets are just happy to be in the building too, and we could just, sneak up on them. But Thomas, bro, tell us about the article.
Yeah, man, just pretty much digging into the top 25 players under 25. There's when I started writing, I was like, there's a lot of good young talent in the NFL. You really dig into it, and you're like, my God, like there are some incredible, like this might be some of the best crop of young talent we've had for, I don't want to say all time because that's really hyperbolic, but in a long time. It's still a veterans game in a sense, but like young guys are really dominating the league like we've never seen before. And like obviously guys in the article are going to come up, so I'm not gonna shed light on too many names, but the ones you expect are there. There's maybe a few surprises, maybe a couple of guys who missed out, and obviously we'll get to that as well. But we're dealing with a lot of really, really fun to watch, really good football players.
So before we dive into the article, I don't want to get too far into the show without everyone knowing where they can find you on social media. So tell us where we can find you on social media, and then tell us where we can find the article as well that we're about to get into.
Cool, man. So the article you can find on Deadspin. You just type in 25 under 25. You'll see some of my other work there as well. And in terms of socials, I'm only really on Twitter, so you can follow me at @Valentine Sport. And, there I'm going to talk football, movies occasionally, Succession, occasionally basketball as well. But yeah, like you can find me there if you want to follow me. If not,
I gotta ask, bro. You said football. Are we talking about soccer? Or are we talking about NFL football?
Oh no, we're talking about NFL. Anytime when I say football, to me it's football. Like I mean football, NFL.
Hey, you never know you in Scotland, bro. Like you gotta ask. We need a clarification, bro. Kadeem, what did you think about the article?
Yeah, I enjoyed it, and it's why I want to get him on. I don't think it's a surprise which Dolphins players make it on the list. I don't think it's a surprise kind of where they land on the list as well. Apart from the first one, I thought the first person probably could have been placed higher, but it's not my list, So I'm sure Tom will explain why this person's there. Also, I think I have a new drop, so I want to quickly test it on us.
Here go Kadeem. Like, this is the producer of the show. Always trying to have some new stuff. And like, yo, like we don't have like downtime the week. Be like, hey, let's try this out. But let's go, Kadeem. Let's see what you got.
Now.
All right. What was
Oh, didn't mean to loop it. Did not mean to loop it.
The Jeopardy drop is gold, bro. We gotta bring that back eventually. I hope you got it like ready at the fingertips. Like, all right, we got to go. You like a DJ over here. You gotta get ready to just drop them in.
You get a countdown song in there too.
I can add. Charlie, do you know what countdown is?
Like the song countdown from like Europe?
No. It's
what countdown are we talking about?
It's a UK game show where they bring up letters and you got to spell out words from the letters, and there's a famous like countdown drop similar to Jeopardy. It's more obviously like UK. So
I don't know what that is.
We'll add it. We can add it for our UK for our UK guests if they have a question.
I like it.
Cool. Right. Let's get into the article.
So Thomas, Kadeem just set it up pretty nicely and said, the first player on this list, 25 under 25, is friend of the podcast, Miami Dolphins safety, Javon Holland, the snowman. Kadeem alluded to him, like thinking maybe he would be a little bit higher on this list, but it's your list. So what you got for us, bro? Javon Holland coming in at 25.
Hi, man. I love watching him play football. I think the calling card is versatility. Like last year especially, we saw him play in the box more. We saw him play slot corner. Obviously, he still has the ability to play split field safety or like a deep middle, which, he'll be doing probably more of with Fangio this season, just because obviously the way you guys are going to play defense. But man, I love him. I think he can do everything. Like we've seen him blitz the quarterback. He's, like safeties that move downhill like him. There really aren't too many. Like he hits hard, he plays hard, he plays smart. He does everything for me. And I think for safeties especially, like I really want guys who can do everything, and it's just he does that.
Bro, I think we're gonna see Javon Holland become a fixture in the names of NFL players this year. Like for who I remember, who was it? Bates, Jesse Bates was the safety for Cleveland, and I remember last year. I think it was last year. Everybody had Bates going to the Dolphins saying they need a safety. Right?
Isn't Bates in Cincinnati?
I meant Cincinnati. It's an Ohio team, and they wear orange. My bad. I thought I actually said Cincinnati. So everyone like, yo, Bates is going to the Dolphins. I like, yo, the disrespect on Javon Holland and friend of the podcast, Brandon Jones. You know what I'm saying? Like, we have a solid DB room, right? So when and it was more than just that one article. It was a couple people were saying, Dolphins need a safety. There's a safety away to be having. I'm like, I don't know what these boys are watching, right? So cool. I thought Javon Holland was already. I thought it was understood that Javon Holland is a dude. Apparently, the NFL hasn't gotten a memo, and I'm okay with that because that means we can sneak up on a couple people. But this year in particular, take the over on 3.5 interceptions for Javon Holland in the Vic Fangio system. Javon Holland with Xavier Howard underneath them and Jalen Ramsey underneath them and Brandon Jones next to him, Kader Kohu in the slot. Bro, take the over on 3.5 interceptions for Javon Holland. Kadeem.
Yeah, we had this conversation, Tom, off air about how best to use Javon Holland because you want him blitzing the quarterback. He's so good at it, and obviously both him and Brandon Jones, as the blitz boys coming off the edge, teams couldn't really work out how to stop it, who was going to come and stuff like that. Obviously, it might be a situation where Vic Fangio doesn't blitz him as much, if at all, because Vic Fangio doesn't blitz as much. Do you think that would hinder his gameplay, or is he so good at all the other stuff? That's actually, do you know what? He's fine, playing centre field, coming down to the box, and kind of just playing a more coverage scheme as opposed to a blitzing scheme.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think you probably will see him blitz less this year, just like you said, from Fangio defenses of the past. But it's all about the plays you have as well, like X's and O's, Jimmys and Joes. Or like eventually, you're gonna want to use guys you have. Brandon Jones and Javon Holland, especially, use them in the best way possible. And obviously, like we've said, like he can do, everything. He can do literally everything. But I think part of that would be for me, like, use him the best way possible. I'm not asking him like to blitz like 3 or 4 times a game, but like throw a little wrinkle in there. I let the man play defense in the way that he can do best. And obviously, for me, a lot of that is his ability to blitz the passer.
You got 2 safeties that are comfortable with each other. They play right off of each other. I want to say when friend of the podcast, Javon Holland, was drafted, he tweeted, friend of the podcast, Brandon Jones, like draft day, basically, like, or the day after draft day, like, hey, we're going to be good for a while. Like, I'm coming, basically, right? And there was some people that were here. It was like, oh, it's kind of disrespectful for the I kind of want to say Bobby McCain was still here. Maybe he wasn't, but there were still people who were starting over both of them. You know what I'm saying? So I like the idea that they both knew, like, yo, we're the future of the Dolphins, and it's absolutely necessary for us to get this chemistry right. And not only did they get it right, they're the Blitz boys. I imagine Vic Fangio will give them some freedom, and it might not just be a dictatorship like, hey, don't do that. So I imagine we're going to see something. You got some dogs on the go ahead.
Very quickly, I also think, given the DBs Miami have, you can easily have Xavier Howard and Cam Smith on the outside, Kader Kohub in the middle, and then Jalen Ramsey and Javon Holland at safety. And say to defenses, one of these guys are going to blitz you. You have no idea who. And it's the options Vic Fangio has means that, Byron Jones not playing every single snap or losing some of these snaps isn't necessarily a bad thing, given the options he had, and especially the versatility of Javon Holland and the others.
You got some dogs on this list, man. Before we get too far on the list, we'll go through Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts didn't have tight end for the Atlanta Falcons. Didn't have the season. Hasn't had a season where it's been justified for him to be a top 6 pick. He was top 6, right? I want to say he was 6.
He was 4th overall, wasn't he?
4th overall. All right. I wanted to say top 5. I really did, but I knew he was in that top 6 range. So he hasn't justified where they drafted him yet, and I don't know that that's on Kyle Pitts, right? But we're gonna skip over to 23 and go to Garrett Wilson. What's it, Jarrett Wilson?
It's Garrett Wilson.
It's Garrett.
Yeah,
it's Garrett Wilson for the New York. For the Paper Planes. Garrett Wilson for the Paper Planes comes in at 23 on this list, and you imagine he's going to be a dude. He now has Aaron Rodgers throwing to him. You wonder how soon they could get that chemistry turned around. Aaron Rodgers said, yo, I need to bring my guys with me. I'm bringing in Alan Lazard. Here goes my shopping list. Bring in Randall Cobb, who Charlie Touche still might be able to compete with. I don't know why you're bringing that dude in other than a locker room head. But cool, I understand it. But then you have Garrett Wilson here, where it's like, yo, Garrett Wilson's the best receiver on the team. So for Aaron Rodgers to bring his own toys to the party, like, yo, I want to bring my favorite toy. I want to bring my blankie. You know what I'm saying? I wonder if that's gonna hinder the growth, or not just the growth of Garrett Wilson, but the chemistry that can happen, that they can create between Rodgers and Garrett Wilson right away off the bat. But we're gonna go to Trayvon Diggs of the Dallas Cowboys, 22 on this list. I think he should be a little bit higher. How we get the 22 for Trayvon Diggs?
I want to have real conviction when I'm writing this article, man. But looking back, like he's a dude I really love. Like 2021, you can say what you want about it. Gave up all those yards, had all the interceptions. Like the ball skills are there. Last year, honestly, man, like last year he was excellent. Like he was so improved. The interceptions went down, but I think he played a little less aggressive. Kind of played more fluid within himself, within the system, where he picked his spots a little bit better, as opposed to, like, I'm going to jump the gun on, like half the snaps I'm taking here. Like he played solid. I think I wanted to have him higher because he's a dude I really love. Like, but it's just when I started looking and compared to the other names I have at corner on the list, like guys that we're going to talk about, like I don't think he's quite as good. And I think maybe I'm kind of carrying a little bit of that 2021 season with me still, because, like cornerback is inherently like a really volatile position for like consistent year-to-year play. Like it doesn't necessarily happen unless, like you're a Jalen Ramsey or you're like an Xavier Howard or like, these guys who do it year after year. And I want to see it another year. And I 100% believe he can. It's just, it's just something you want to see, I know you can do this, but like, just do it for me.
I mean, how did you feel about Trayvon Diggs coming in at 22, Kadeem?
Yeah, I was okay with that. I thought he should be higher than the next guy on the list, but I can understand why, given that reasoning, he is where he is. There's a lot of people, even in 2021, that were like, these interceptions are great, but you've given up so many yards that it kind of negates it. So, it's the same thing we talk about Xavier Howard. These interceptions are great, but dude, you're getting burnt. And when you get burnt, you're giving up big yards. So, he's not Trayvon Diggs isn't a true, or wasn't in that year a true lockdown corner because he got beat quite often, but you don't put up those kind of interception numbers if you're not that good.
Yeah, and you said everything I was just about to say, Kadeem. Trayvon Diggs will lead the league in interceptions, but also lead the league in yards given up. You know what I'm saying? Very similar to Xavier Howard. I don't know that he ever led the league in giving up yards, but he'll give up the big play all the time in Xavier Howard, but he will lead the league in exceptions as well. So Kadeem talked about the next player, which was A.J. Terrell, cornerback for the Atlanta Falcons, sneaky young Drake London, receiver for the Atlanta Falcons. And with Drake London, I think Drake London hasn't had the quarterback yet. He hasn't had the right setup. They haven't had a team. So you get put in a position where it's like, hey, when you're going to produce? Same thing with Kyle Pitts, but now you have Bijan Robinson. And now you have an offense like, hey, we might be able to shake a little something in the NFC South where it's not that competitive, and it might not take us long to get here. But with Drake London, I think Drake London can really be a dude. I like his story, but we won't talk about him too long. We'll go to Christian Darrisaw, tackle for the Minnesota Vikings. A lot of these people, Kadeem, a lot of these names you're gonna end up seeing on the. I don't know if you've seen them, but you heard these names here on this podcast on Touche's 24, right? And Christian Darrisaw, and at 19, but at 18, we have another Miami Dolphin and defensive end Jalen Phillips. This dude is another dude that is carved out of the sculpture of the I look like a football player tree. You know what I'm saying? If you ever see this man without his pads on and no shirt on in his practice clothes, it's like, yeah, you're definitely an athlete. I just don't know what sport you play, but he looks the part. How you feel about Jalen Phillips coming in at 18, Kadeem?
Yeah, I know there's still a few Miami fans who are still bitter the Dolphins didn't take Najee Harris with this pick. And it's like, you can understand it. And especially when coming into the draft, had the concussion issues, which, hey, you're drafting someone in the first round who might be one concussion away from never playing again. Jalen Phillips, since coming to the league, has just got better and better and better. And his ability to not only bend, but his closing down speed as well means and his size as well means if he's coming to get you, throw the ball away because he's going to hit you and he's going to hit you hard. He's only improving with Bradley Chubb on the other side as well. And like you said, when he doesn't have a top on, he looks like the Greek gods sculpted him into be a statue. It's just like you hit the gym and you hit the gym often. So yeah, Jalen Phillips, an absolute dude.
Talk to us, Thomas. How did Jalen Phillips end up 18 on this list?
Just by the way you said, he wins in so many ways, man. You know, incredible array of pass rush moves, speed to power. He wins consistently. He's got the motor. I showed Kadeem a clip of this probably last week at some point, and it was against the Texans. And what I didn't initially realize was he doesn't just line up straight on the edge like a wide nine over the tackle. Like, they use him inside, and they use him in ways that I didn't really know they could, because, you know, like, I looked at the measurables and I'm like, yeah, like, this guy's a dude, and like he's got the power and stuff, but I didn't expect him like to play 4-eye, and like he does, and then like he's beating up on guards, and like this play in particular, he loops around the guard, takes the long way around to the quarterback who's scrambling out to the right of the pocket. Phillips loops around left, and he just hunts. It's Davis Mills, and he just hunts Davis Mills down. Like, the man is the fastest player on the field at that point, and it's just, you know, this dude's 6'5", and he's moving like Tyreek Hill at times, and it's just rare athleticism, and, you know, like the fact he's really more refined as a pass rusher than he was last season. You know, like, he was fourth in overall pressures this year. I know his sack numbers went down by like 1 sack, but, you know, if you're asking me, I'd rather have the guy who consistently has solid high pressure numbers, and, you know,
with a ton of dropbacks, by the way. Like,
yeah,
man's dropping back in coverage too. Man. My bad, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's good. Like, I think the number was like he dropped back into coverage like 100 times last season, and like, you know, again, like, doing it well, you know, like shutting down passing lanes, and just he's a monster. He does everything. Like, he sets the edge really well, and obviously in Fangio's system, you want edge defenders who can set the edge, and like they can have like pressure funneled out their way, and like they disrupt the run game, and just the guy's, he's so fun to watch, and he's so much more versatile than I realized, just in the way that you can use him. And obviously, like, I'd rather him play over the tackle most snaps, but, you know, like, every now and again, 4-eye, or like, you know, like drop him back as like a weak side linebacker, and it's just, it's weird, man. Like, that sort of range of attributes for a guy that size is absurd, you know. But
there's a stat that Kadeem brought to the show, and I can't remember it last year, that Bradley Chubb came to the Dolphins, and I think we had 15 sacks total on the season. And when Bradley Chubb came to the Dolphins, we ended up having 15 more or 25 total sacks or something. It was the wildest stat. Like, yo, when Bradley Chubb came to the Dolphins, everyone else got off around him. You see what I'm saying? So Now you're going to have a whole season of Bradley Chubb opposite Jalen Phillips. And in the Vic Fangio system, I imagine this is going to look like the Von Miller Bradley Chubb defense, like it did in Denver. So I imagine Phillips is going to get off a lot more now. Phillips is another player that benefits from Vic Fangio coming in, that it might be okay, well, maybe the Dolphins was right and didn't select Najee Harris with this pick. And it was supposed to, you know, everyone was talking about Najee Harris with this pick. And listen, I'll be real with you. Can you imagine Najee Harris on this Dolphins team? Of course, it'll look nice. You know what I'm saying? For sure, no one's saying it wouldn't. But at the same time, what did the Steelers look like when they didn't go O-line, but they selected a running back? So, bro, there was something else I want to bring up. Kadeem, what's our? We got a follower, a listener. Shout out to, I want to say it's Jason Keck.
Yes,
Jason Keck. Shout out to Jason Keck. I wonder, Jason Keck, if you're listening, let us know. Did you come around on Jalen Phillips yet? I know you were out on Jalen Phillips for a while, and then in my opinion, I feel like Jalen Phillips was just doing nothing but saying, I'm here. I think the coaches were wrong the way they used them, and now I wonder if Jason Keck came around on them now. But I know I came around on Jalen Phillips. One more thing I wanted to you know, we're only on 18 on this 25 under 25, right? 25 NFL players under the age of 25, and we're only at 18. And if for anyone who watches like one of the top 10, plays of the week, like Sports Center plays of the week or the top 10, and you're watching the countdown, and it's like you get to 7, you're like, why isn't that number one? You know what I'm saying? Like what plays are higher than that? You know what I'm saying? And when I go up and down this list, I'm like, all right, I kind of get it, right? Next player on this list is Chris Olave at 17. At 16 is T. Higgins, who's also a dude in his own right. Joe Burrow said, yo, we need T. Higgins as much as we need Jamar Chase. And at 15 is someone who I advocated for the Dolphins to get in that same Tua draft, which was Jonathan Taylor. Bro, Jonathan Taylor is a running back. He had that breakout year, and everybody was like, I don't know what people were talking about when they say, oh, he can't catch the ball out of the backfield, and he had the most fumbles in college, and that's why he fell out on the draft board. But Jonathan Taylor, in my opinion, probably the third best running back in the league. Like not on paper, not like if I just had to, you have to pick today and make a list of the top 3 running backs. Like we have the quarterback rankings. If we had a running back rankings, I imagine on my list, Jonathan Taylor would probably be in the top 3. How did Jonathan Taylor end up at 15 for you, Thomas?
Again, like we're just talking about guys who can do it all. And obviously the Colts offensive line was really good in 2021, and that contributed to the fact that he had, a monster year. Last year, not as good. He dealt with injuries himself, but he's just, like a home run player. Like so many times in 2021, like I actually went and watched his top 10 plays, and at some point it's like 7, like you said, like, man, how is this not number 1? And then you see like the number 1 play, and you're like, oh damn, like he's incredible. He can break an 80-yard run wherever he wants. He's a consistent runner. Like his contact balance is excellent. He is someone who I probably want to improve a little bit out of the backfield as a receiver, but he's young. He's young, man. He's getting there. He's a dude. Like he really is a dude. It's just so many times with the Colts, he saved them in 2021. Last year, I wish I saw it again. He was injured. Like the pieces around him did not help at all. Like Matt Ryan. Like come on, man. But yeah, like he's might be like in some opinions it could be high for a running back, but like we're talking about pure talent, and I don't think there is a better running back in the NFL right now. If everybody's healthy and everybody's on their game, like I'm taking Jonathan Taylor every day.
Kadeem, what you got about Jonathan Taylor coming in at 15?
Before I talk about him coming in at 15, there's a clip doing the rounds of a Tua pass to a undrafted wide receiver. I think it was last week in OTAs. And the undrafted wide receiver beat former first-round pick Noah Igbenogany. And everyone was just like, what could have been? And what could have been was Jonathan Taylor. And, it's not fair because Noah didn't ask to get picked where he got picked. But when you look at who was taken after Noah, someone like a Jonathan Taylor, the Dolphins always can look back and go, yeah, we got that one wrong. So yeah, Jonathan Taylor at 15. Was it 17? Was he at?
He was at 15.
15, yeah. Jonathan Taylor at 15. He's a dude. Sometimes the best description of a guy is he's a dude. He's so talented. Hopefully the coach came back healthy and he does really, really well. He's question for you, Charlie.
Yep.
If the Colts don't re-sign him and he hits free agency, is he someone you want the Dolphins to pick up and pay? I'm not talking give him like I don't know. I'll just say pay because Jonathan Taylor's a free agent. The Dolphins have won a ring. But hey, let's go and get another one. Do you pay Jonathan Taylor?
I imagine, and I'm gonna play the game with you, but I imagine they tag him first. So they're gonna tag him. They're gonna try to get everything out of him that they possibly can. And I think this is going to be a Saquon Barkley situation where, and I don't wish that on Jonathan Taylor, meaning he's not as healthy as Saquon, but I think they're going to see how, like, we have to see what we have in Jonathan Taylor. So he was a second round pick, right?
Yeah.
So he was second round. So there's no 5th year option. There's no 5th year option for Jonathan Taylor like there was with Saquon Barkley. So they're going to tag him and say, oh, we're working on something here. We like you here. New coaching staff, by the way. We're going to give you this tag. And then he's going to be like, yo, I feel like I'm better than this tag. And does Richardson pan out, the quarterback? You know what I'm saying? Like, what do we get in Richardson? What does he look like? So Jonathan Taylor has a year to say, yeah, I'm not feeling this quarterback. Or, oh, I'm feeling this quarterback. So to play your game, Kadeem, he does make it to free agency. And it's up to the Dolphins to decide, look, we just came off this championship. You know what I'm saying? We're rebuilding the running back room. I think it's worth the conversation. And Jonathan Taylor is going to reset the market at running back. I believe he will reset the market. And you're talking about $14 to $15 million a year. As much as I love Jonathan Taylor, and he's a guy, bro. He's a human being too. He's a quality person. That's what you want in a person on your football team, right? I would love to have Jonathan Taylor, but I would love to have more Super Bowls. And I don't know if paying a running back $15 million a year brings you Super Bowls. And I think there's also a list of the previous 20 Super Bowl winning teams, and none of them have like a top 5 paid running back on it. You know what I'm saying? So there's something to be said about that. As much as you love the person, I don't know if I pay Jonathan Taylor, but I will give you this, Kadeem. That year, and we're going to get to another player on this list, but that year when Tua came out, I had all the conviction in the world. I knew 100% it was going to be Tua. And I said we need to do something with the next 2 picks after Tua, but we didn't do it. But we'll get to there later on this list. And once we didn't do it, I'm like, okay, well, I'm not the GM. Let's see what happens. Let's see what we get. And when we got to the late 20s, the word on the street was it was going to be DeAndre Swift, right? And LB, shout out to LB. LB said, bro, with the running backs coming out, you had Clyde Edwards-Helaire, you had DeAndre Swift, you had Jonathan Taylor, and I want to say J.K. Dobbins. Those were the running backs. And LB was like, bro, you have to pick a running back for the Dolphins. And you're going to take him with the 3rd pick of the first round. Our 3rd pick of the first round, because we had 3 first-round picks that year. Which running back would you take? I lean towards DeAndre Swift. I'm like, yo, he's the more complete back. He can catch, he can run, he can do everything. You can spread them out wide, you can do all that. CEH, I felt like was a gimmick. J.K. Dobbins, I'm cool with J.K. I would have took J.K. not in the first round, but if he would have fell to us somewhere along the line, I'm cool with J.K. But Jonathan Taylor and his fumble issues, I'm like, bro, that can be fixed. He has the most fumbles because he has absurdly the most amount of touches. You know what I'm saying? Secondly, you can work on his hands. And lo and behold, Jonathan Taylor comes out and he is a running back. I say he's top 3. And I pulled up a list of running backs, bro. He's number 2 for me. Like I'm looking, and I'll just give you my top 3 running backs in the NFL right now, in my opinion. And this has nothing to do with, like, this is outside of the team they're on, how much they get paid. If I just had this, hey, you have to pick a running back today in the NFL, who are you picking? Personally, I'm going with Nick Chubb. I think Nick Chubb is that dude. And then I'm going with Jonathan Taylor after Nick Chubb. That's just me. But yeah, man. You want to close this out on Jonathan Taylor Thomas? Hey, Jonathan Taylor Thomas. Isn't that an actor?
That's a nice name, man. I'd flip it. I would have Nick Chubb. I'd love Nick Chubb as well, man. Like, I really do. Just that, when you talk about guys who are like pure runners, that's him. That's him. Like, contact balance, like, guys bounce off him. I remember it was the 2019 season, and they were playing the Eagles, and It wasn't Alex Highsmith. Who was it? Alex Singleton. The man was stiff arming defensive linemen and just making it look easy. Like
Derrick Henry. Oh, you talking about Nick Chubb still?
Yeah, this is Nick Chubb.
Yeah,
Obviously,
yeah.
Derrick Henry has a very storied history with
Yeah.
But Nick Chubb, it was a defensive lineman. I don't exactly remember who it was, but he stiff armed him into oblivion. And like at that moment, you know, like this guy's it. Like, you know, and sometimes you just can't describe. I mean, you can describe it. Like he has it. Like this man has it. Like that's Jonathan Taylor. That's Nick Chubb. Like that. Just complete, really, really great players.
So Jonathan Taylor comes in at 15. Devontae Smith comes in at 14. And Devontae Smith's Alabama teammate and draft year frat brother, the Penguin, comes in at 13. And Jalen Waddle. Bro, Jalen Waddle comes in at 13 in the 25 best players in the NFL under the age of 25. How happy are we to have Jalen Waddle on this football team, Kadeem? That's not. I don't need you to answer that. I'm gonna go to Thomas first, but can you imagine the Dolphins without Jalen Waddle right now? The whole get to a weapons conversation, and then you get him Jalen Waddle, and with all due respect to one of my favorite tight ends ever, probably my favorite tight end ever for the Miami Dolphins, Mike Gesicki, Jalen Waddle is a wide receiver. He was the weapon that Tua had before last season. He got that one weapon and broke a record with it. Turned Jalen Waddle into this probably had a chance to be Rookie of the Year, but Jamar Chase ended up getting it. I think Jamar Chase got it that year. Offensive Rookie of the Year, I think he got. I can't remember, but Jalen Waddle comes in at 13. Thomas, tell us about it.
You know, again, I look back at this list, I'm like, man, is that too low? But I love him, man. I think he's so good. I think the way he's been used in 2022 is probably a greater representation of who he is. You know, he can work all over the field. Like his ADOT last year was like 7 yards, which is, you know, pretty low. It's almost like not a gadget player per se, but you're using him more as like an underneath guy. This year, over 12 yards. Like they wanted to use him in the best way possible. They wanted him downfield on deeper and intermediate routes, digs, you know, like deeper curls, posts. Like you want to utilize players in the best way possible. And I think what's really interesting about him is how good he is after the catch. Like he led the league this season in yards after the catch per reception. And I think the really cool part about it is like fundamentally the Dolphins offense, you know, subject to what some people may think, is not a team that is built on yards after the catch in the passing game.
I'm sorry, we didn't catch that. Can you say it again?
This is not an offense that is built for yards after the catch in the passing game.
My guy.
Yeah, man. Like it's like it's spot throws, isn't it? Like it's spot throws. It's like let's work this particular pass, like let's fit this into this window. But then obviously because you have guys like Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, like you're getting so much more and you're getting this additional stuff that, you know, you don't necessarily get from other receivers. And like I'll pull up, like they were right slap bang in the middle in terms of yards after the catch this season. But Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle were both in like top 10 in yards after the catch per reception. Like it's just once you get the ball in this guy's hands, like it's like magic can happen. You know, just explosive speed and just shifty, the ability to make guys miss, and like even on the line as a receiver, like we can watch him play against press, and you know, like contested catches isn't his calling card, but like he can do it when you need him to. But it's just put the ball where you want it, and this guy's going to catch it. And after that, like you just look out.
Jalen Waddle comes in at 13 on this list, and I got to tell you, that first his rookie year, he was used like as solely a slot receiver. Basically, in essence, a Cooper Kupp type receiver, and he lived up to every bit of him being drafted where he was drafted. That was the conversation. Are we going Devontae Smith? Are we going Kyle Pitts? Are we going Jamar Chase? What are we doing with that pick right there? Penei Sewell was in the conversation. A lot of things happened, and unfortunately, for Jalen Waddle, he was drafted by an inferior coaching staff. yes, he broke the records at slot receiver, but then Mike McDrip came in and said, bro, you are not a slot receiver. You are a true number one receiver, which Sherrod Steve came on this podcast and said, Jalen Waddle's a number one. I like, yo, Jalen Waddle's a slot receiver. We're using him as a slot. I can't say he's a number one right now. So, I give everybody their roses when it's time, bro. I'm good. Yo, shout out to Sherrod Steve. Call it. He's a number one. Bro, we got Tyreek Hill and put him opposite of Jalen Waddle, and it is like no hyperbole.
Hyperbole.
Yo, let me talk. You know what I'm saying? Like that, I can't get it out. I struggle with words with too many B's in it and P's and B's, bro. Like, so, yo, Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill with a healthy Tua had a legitimate chance to be two 2,000-yard receivers on the same team in the same year in the NFL, which is unheard of. The wildest thing ever when the league has never had one 2,000-yard receiver. It's unheard of. So you have Jalen Waddle. The man is a stud. And we'll intermit real quick. And I'll just throw a name out there that's someone who just became available, and DeAndre Hopkins. Right? Y'all tune in a bonus time because we're going to have a DeAndre Hopkins slice at the end of Go Time Dolphins. But before we trail off a little bit, Kadeem, Jalen Waddle comes in at 13 on this list.
His touchdown this season against the Packers kind of just shows everything about this Miami Dolphins offense, from the play calling to Tua at quarterback to Jalen Waddle. So the anticipation that Tua has to hit Waddle where he hits him is elite. Like, it's just like perfect throw. Jalen Waddle catches this pass and he's like, I'm gone. Like, you are not seeing me. And once he gets going, the only person on the field who can catch him is Tyreek Hill, which says so much about both of them. And that's what's so frustrating about the Dolphins in Jalen Waddle's rookie year. Like that boneheaded throw, the wide receiver screen in our own end zone against the Raiders, which got done for a safety, and just like, why are you using Jalen Waddle like that? He was used so often on underneath routes. And yeah, the scary thing about Jalen Waddle is that he can still improve, because I don't think it's harsh to say he has drop issues. Not, oh my days, Jakeem Grant drop issues, but you can look after his ball a lot better. You can, keep your eyes on the ball for that extra second, which means you're going to bring the ball down. It's almost like I don't want to speak on his behalf because I've never spoken to him yet. No, that's a lie. I've spoken to him. I spoke to him in London. I apologize for that, Jalen.
Hey.
But it's almost like he's ready to run down the end of the field before he secured the ball. So it's like his hands are there and he turned his head and it's like, yo. And also I feel like he catches it into his body a bit too much. If he can keep his hands out, extend and catch, it's scary. And seeing Tyreek Hill speak about him this offseason so far, I'm like, yo, this guy's still improving. I don't know if you've seen it, Charlie, but Jalen Waddle said last week, he's added muscle and he can start running guys over. Yo, you get Jalen Waddle running at full speed and running someone over. It's always funny. I'm sure you guys have seen it. It's a clip of Antonio Brown essentially giving someone a big boot to the face.
That was Pat McAfee.
Is it Pat McAfee?
Yeah, it was a kick. It was a punt return, and he tried to jump over and he kicked him. I thought it was Pat McAfee. I think it's Pat McAfee.
Whoever it is, Antonio Brown went too far down the other end. But just watching Jalen Waddle catch the ball, start going, have one person to beat, instead of juking them, just running them over and going, do you take that and then go in? Yeah, he's a special talent, because it's one of those things where you can't teach speed, and he's got speed in abundance, but he's also a really clean route runner. Obviously, he can still improve, but yeah, Jalen Waddle is, again, I'm glad he's over Devonta Smith. I think he could have been higher, but again, it's when you see the list, you go, yeah, it makes sense.
So I'm just looking it up. Maybe it wasn't Pat McAfee, but we'll get to that because I don't want to forget my thought. Jalen Waddle did say he's putting on weight. I seriously doubt he's trying to run anybody over. And it sounded funny when he said it, but I don't think he's going to. But Jalen Waddle, I agree, Kadeem, and I'm gonna be more direct. He does have drop problems. You gotta catch the ball, bro. We can't have that. You know what I'm saying? There were too many instances where we were like, oh, when it came to Jalen Waddle. You know what I'm saying? Like, we love Jalen Waddle to death, but there was just too many, like one or two, a couple, cool. You know what I'm saying? For example, if you're a believer of Tua, when Tua threw the pick against Green Bay on Christmas that ended the game, you weren't really mad at Tua. It was like, oh, we don't get this a lot. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't happen like that, right? So you're not really upset at something like that. But with Jalen Waddle, it became this is becoming too frequent. You know what I'm saying? And then he had the fumble against Minnesota late where we were driving to come back to win the game, and he caught like a dig route and then didn't secure the ball, and the ball came off of him, and he fumbled and gave it up. It was like, yo, I love Jalen Waddle to death, but he has to clean up his security issues. So, yeah, man. And we're going to speed up the list a little bit, but we got Hall of Famer coming in at number 12, future Hall of Famer, Penei Sewell, offensive tackle for the Detroit Lions. And I am on record, and I will still say to this day, the Dolphins should have selected Penei Sewell that draft. But we chose number 13, Jalen Waddle, on this list. And I'm okay with that. I will go to bat and debate with anybody. The Dolphins should have selected Penei Sewell and then drafted Rondale Moore, and you would have got like that's a pretty good two people if you didn't get Jalen Waddle, but I'm okay with that. So then we got Rashawn Slater, number 11 on this list, and then we make it to number 10, which is my first gripe of the entire list. Now, it's just opinions. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, this is an opinion, but this is my first gripe. And there's only really like two gripes on this list for me, but this is the first one. And yeah, this is the first one. And it's CeeDee Lamb, receiver for the Dallas Cowboys, coming in at number 10. I got Jalen Waddle better than CeeDee Lamb. I think Jalen Waddle is a legitimate number 2. I do think, he was like classified as the slot receiver gadget type player, but Mike McDaniel said, nah, bro, you are a number 1. And if Tyreek Hill happens to retire when he says he wants to retire, Jalen Waddle is going to take the torch and be there for a long time. But this is your list, Thomas. You could defend it. CeeDee Lamb comes in at number 10.
I think maybe because I've seen it over a longer time period with Lamb that I'm just a bit more in tune with him. And I know, like, fundamentally, he is probably more of a slot receiver. He kind of split his time last season between playing out wide and now as a slot receiver. But, it's just the Cowboys are able to funnel like a really good passing offense through this guy, especially with the guys they had around him. Like Michael Gallup was coming back from injury. He didn't really show that he had all that. Other than that, and obviously they went out and got Brandon Cooks this season, which is kind of a testament to where they knew they needed to improve. And it's just, he's awesome, man. Like, he's so shifty off the line. He is pretty much, I think he's second in explosive plays in the NFL over the last 2 years, which wouldn't necessarily be the name that like immediately comes to mind because he's not someone you're like, oh, like explosive off the line speed, but he makes big plays. Like him running up that seam, just, you can't stop him. He's got great hands. He can play against press, man, zone. He can run any route. Like, he's just a really refined route tree. And I think that having a guy like Dak Prescott have that sort of trust in him, like, to me, that speaks volumes. Like, I really love Dak Prescott. I think he's a great quarterback. And it's just, they've built some really good chemistry. And I think that's chemistry that over the next couple of years, we're going to see with Tua and Waddle, where they really kind of take it to another level. Yeah, man, I think right now I would have Lamb over Waddle. Could that change this time next year? Hey, man, like, maybe.
You want to chime in on CeeDee Lamb, Kadeem?
Yeah, I think I'm not too angry because, like we've said, Waddle does have hands issue, and as a wide receiver, you need to have great hands. So it's like, I can see it. It's one of those things where if Waddle cleans up that hands issue and has another year like he does, I think even if CeeDee Lamb has a similar year, I'd put Waddle over him. But I can understand if that was the full process behind it. Put it that way.
I'm pulling up most drops in the NFL last year.
Gabe Davis.
I want to say, is it Gabe Davis? Because I kind of feel like CeeDee Lamb might be up pretty high on this list. I could be wrong. And we went through this last year, Kadeem, and we're like, yo, I don't know what they classify a drop because the leader of this, well, Gabe Davis does he's tied with a bunch of people. But hold on. We're going to get a little off track, and I don't want to get too far off track. But I guess CeeDee Lamb isn't all the way up here. I thought he would be. And we'll get back to this drop list, though. All right, so CeeDee Lamb isn't up here. But my thing is, when I watched CeeDee Lamb, I seen him drop some pretty easy passes. Like, yo, that's a game winner. You won the game with that pass, right? So maybe it wasn't the amount of drops that CeeDee Lamb had. And again, I don't know what the NFL classifies a drop as, but I seen him drop some pretty important passes. I guess it's not a lot of passes, but I seen him drop some important ones. And I'll take Waddle over CeeDee Lamb. I do believe I am a believer in Jalen Waddle being a number one. We'll get back to this drop list, but let's get into Touche's 24. Creed Humphrey coming in at number 9, and then Andrew Thomas, tackle for the Giants, coming in at number 8. At number 7, the biggest gripe that I have on this list, the only other gripe I have on this list is Sunshine from Remember the Titans, Trevor Lawrence coming in at number 7. Bro, tell us how you got Trevor Lawrence at number 7. But before you do, I'll go first this time. I don't think we got a big enough sample size. I don't know if we got a big enough sample size. I seen Trevor Lawrence fly under the radar, and no one gave him the crap that Tua was getting, and he was just flying 500 feet at 500 feet. Like, yo, I'm good here, I'm safe. And then he had a breakout. I don't know if we call it a breakout season. Maybe he had a breakout season last year, but he had a pretty good season last year. And you know what? I guess it's 25 under 25. I can understand him being one of these 25. I don't know about him being 7th on this list. Maybe it's the quarterback, position boosting him up on this list, Thomas. But what we got?
Like the first thing I said when I read this article, I was like, he is, for me, like the prince that was promised. I know obviously he had a pretty rough rookie season, but with Urban Meyer, that coaching staff and that offense, like it felt kind of like a red shirt. Like, like whatever happens, man, happens. Like we can't expect too much from you. The first time around we has a capable head coach and a capable offense, for me, he's exceptional. Like the things that he demonstrated early on in his career that he can still do now, like his pocket presence was just completely unnatural for a guy his age. Like he knew how to move around the pocket, how to negate pressure, kind of just the little subtle movements, the arm talent, it's all there. Like he doesn't have the strongest arm, but he's able to make all the throws and consistently make them, improve his accuracy, 3 more touchdown passes. Obviously helps that he had a better supporting cast, athletic, like the guy's not like he's lean, he's not like a proper dual threat kind of quarterback, but I love him, man. Like I've probably, Kadeem and I, the group chat we're in, I've probably defended him one too many times, but this guy having so much promise coming into the college, from college to the NFL, generational Andrew, like Peyton Manning style of hype. I know it's 1 year, but the fact that he bounced back from that rookie year to have, this past season where, if I was to put him on a list right now where I thought he was in terms of quarterbacks, I could go as high as like...
Stop. He would... Tom on a quarterback rankings list will be a lot of fun. So I say hold on to that.
Okay.
Do your quarterback rankings list, and we'll get you on for that, because I think not from many spoilers, but a back and forth between you and Charlie of like, you have this guy here, you have this guy here. It will be a lot of fun. That would be one where I will sit back and go, get a bit, enjoy yourselves.
Yeah, man. So you want to say something about Trevor Lawrence coming in at 7 on this list, Kadeem?
Yeah, I think it's because I know Tom, I know how highly he values Trevor Lawrence. And again, you look at Trevor Lawrence and you can see it's like, yeah, he's probably going to be around for a very long time doing amazing things. Again, I think a lot of it is, I look at the supporting cast he's had and go, you've kind of been done quite badly. As long as they keep on putting weapons around him, I think he will keep on improving. But like Charlie said, he not in no way his fault, but I think he's one of those quarterbacks who got all the defense and all the blies and all the artists all fine that Tua didn't get, and they had the exact same situation. So I think for our Dolphins fans, we see your Trevor Lawrence's, Justin Herbert's heralded, and it's like, well, hold on, you guys didn't say any about this about Tua, so it is what it is. But yeah, again, yeah,
There's a chip in the shoulder, isn't there?
I think a quarterback ranking episode will do justice to the conversation, and I'll just leave it off with a taste of it. It's funny, Thomas, that a lot of the things that you said about Trevor Lawrence, I'm like, oh, he's talking about Tua right now, but you weren't talking about Tua. The inferior coaching staff that he had his first season, like, oh, he's talking about Tua. Oh, but he wasn't. And then when he got a real coach, look what he did with it. Oh, he's talking about Tua, but he wasn't. So yeah, man, I feel you. And I think people think I'm out on Trevor Lawrence, or I'm out on Justin Herbert, or I'm out on anybody else that's not named Tua, which I'm not. They just put me in a position to where I've always had to defend Tua. Like, yo, what are y'all talking about? Like, why do you not talk about this quarterback the same way you talk about these quarterbacks? And I think last year was that year was like, all right, maybe you guys got a quarterback. But and then it comes with being salty. Like, they're just salty that he didn't turn out. Tua did not pan out the way that they wanted him to. But number 6 on this list, Kadeem, I'm gonna start with you, is Tristan Wirfs. What you got to say about offensive tackle Tristan Wirfs?
So similar to Jonathan Taylor, and not all, but some Dolphin fans will be like, what could have been? And I'm not trying to pass the buck, but I think the only person who can talk about Tristan Wirfs before getting to Tom is you, Charlie, because you were very adamant the Dolphins should have done this in 2020. The Dolphins didn't, and Tristan Wirfs in his rookie year was just like he'd been playing the position for 10 years. It was scary how good Tristan Wirfs is as a tackle in the NFL.
Kadeem, Tristan Wirfs protected the quarterback who shall not be named and won a Super Bowl with him. And I wanted him to be our right tackle forever and ever. Amen. I thought he was going to be Tua's right tackle forever. And this is what I thought would happen. I said the Dolphins are going to take Tua at 5. Then they're going to package 18 and whatever other pick that was, 28 or something 26. Like that. 26, and move up to select Tristan Wirfs. And then we're going to be set. We're going to be good at right tackle. Tua's blind side will be protected to the end of days. But we did not do that, Kadeem. And we went, and Tristan Wirfs is going to be a Hall of Famer at right tackle, which we could have had. And imagine, and I don't like doing this. I don't like doing this, Kadeem. But imagine you had Tristan Wirfs on one side and Penei Sewell on the other side. Like, bro, come on, bro. Help me. And that's all I'm saying. I will not go there, but you know what I'm saying? I'll leave it there. But Thomas, this is a hit. Tristan Wirfs could arguably be who knows where on this list before we go into the top 5. But you got something on us with Wirfs?
He could be higher. Again, he could be higher. Like an offensive tackle in his rookie season, hitting the ground running doesn't happen often. I know, we've got a few guys in the past few years, like Penei Sewell and Rashawn Slater, and obviously Wirfs as well, who kind of almost exceptions to the rule. It's hard to be an offensive tackle. It's harder to be an offensive tackle for Tom Brady in your rookie season with a really strong, obviously, team that goes on to win a Super Bowl. He's unreal, man. He's a people mover. He doesn't give up sacks. He doesn't give up pressures. He's just a stalwart.
It's crazy. He gave up. I don't know off the top of my head, but I was not shocked when I seen it while it was happening. It was like he gave up maybe one or no sacks and 3 pressures for the first 15 games. It was the dumbest stat you're ever going to see in a rookie offensive tackle to protect a Hall of Fame quarterback. Why couldn't get that in my future Hall of Fame quarterback? That's all I'm saying. That's all I wanted. That's it. You know what? I need, it's Mental Health Awareness Month, fellas. And maybe I'm just venting right now and I needed some therapy. But can we get some offensive help, offensive tackle help, offensive line help for my quarterback? He was there. We could have did it. You know what I'm saying? But listen, we're going to run through this top 5. We got Sauce Gardner coming in at 5. Patrick Surtain coming in at 4, Jamar Chase coming in at 3, and Justin Jefferson coming in at 2, and Micah Parsons coming in at 1. Outside of number 5, Thomas, you're not going to get no pushback from me here. All of these boys are studs. All of these boys are going to make top dollar one day in their positions. You could rearrange these pieces. And you know what? Outside of Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase, because I said Justin Jefferson was going to be better than Jamar Chase. Outside of that, you can move these pieces around and not get any pushback from me. I do believe Justin Jefferson is better than Jamar Chase and will have the better career. I think Jamar Chase had a very fortuitous draft where he ended up going to his college quarterback, and they took off like they never left. Kadeem, what you want to say about this top 5?
I don't like Sauce at 5. I don't think Sauce is bad. Maybe it's because he plays for the team that he plays for, and when we played them twice, he didn't have to play against Tua. I would, and listen, if Tua, Jalen Waddle, and Tyreek Hill just embarrass Sauce Gardner, that doesn't make him a bad corner. I think it's one of those things where Dolphins Twitter retweets a lot of Jets Twitter, and it's like, oh, we've got Sauce Gardner, and it's like, okay, cool, good for you. Like, and again, that Paper Planes rookie class, they have a good young nucleus going forward. I think, and again, you see the clips, Sauce gets away with quite a lot, and it'd be interesting to see if referees kind of watch back over this offseason and go, and he kind of gets turned the other way, he gets penalized quite a lot next year. Like I said, Sauce isn't bad, not at all. I just wouldn't have him at 5. That's just my thing.
Where would you have him, just out of curiosity?
At 55, because no Paper Planes are getting on this list. It's that simple. So yeah, no. I think he probably will make the top 10, but I think again, it's one of those things where I think me not liking him stems more from the way the Paper Plane fan base talks him up. But it's the exact same way, we've had these discussions why some people can't stand Tua. Because like, will Dolphin fans stop talking about Tua? So it's like I said, I want to see it this year. I want to see him go up against, number 1 receivers with number 1 quarterbacks and see how he truly fares. And listen, if he continues to shut down wide receivers and not be so grabby, it's like, you know what? Yeah, fair play.
I think this is kind of why I had Pat Surtain over him, and I kind of alluded to earlier when we talk about Trayvon Diggs. But it's such a volatile position. Cornerback, like from year to year, the play can change so much. Like we've seen it with Diggs. We kind of saw it with AJ Terrell as well. He was great in 2020, not so good in 2021, but all the traits are still there. And I think the fact that Surtain has been doing it for 2 years, like he's only 2 years in the NFL, been playing solid. I think I actually said this time last year, I was like, Pat Surtain's going to be like a top 5, like all pro corner next season. Like I'll bet on that. I'll bank on it. And the fact that like 2 years of solid, consistent play, obviously he's a good defense, but he's not as grabbing, he's not as aggressive as Sauce, which obviously could be to Sauce's detriment next year. But I kind of had Surtain over him because of that, a bigger sample size, and he's just a bit more fluid in terms of like, he doesn't have as many pass breakups, but guys don't target him as much. Like, you don't go over there. Sauce was targeted heavily. That kind of lends credence to the fact that like he did lead the league in pass breakups, but it's good that he's getting targeted. Like people want to test him. He was like, no, I'm not having it. But the fact that Surtain doesn't get targeted as much, I don't know. It says something to me. It could be coincidence, but it says something to me.
I hate to say that I was a defensive back because I'm nobody. You know what I'm saying? But as a DB growing up, I believe it's not even an indictment. When I think it's telling, it's perfect. I think it's telling when the team says, I prefer to go at this person as opposed to, we're not even going over there. I think that's a check for that person who doesn't get the targets. And just to answer Kadeem's question, the list is a great list. And I try to look to see where I'll put Sauce on it. If I would move some pieces around, I think he makes 9 or 10 for me. I think Creed Humphrey, Jalen Waddle, Tristan Wirfs, and Penei Sewell all crack the top 10, and he'll get bumped down to like 9 or 10. Like this is we're talking about all pro players. Every single player on this list is an all pro. So
yeah, man, it's fine margins, isn't it? Like when I got into the top 10, like you said, especially when you spoke about Chase and Jefferson and Parsons, like the top 5, you can move them around in any order. Yep. And like, I wouldn't be mad. You know, if you like Waddle, top 6, top 7, yeah, man, why not? Like every reason to be. It's just like I said at the start, there's so many good young players in the NFL. Like it's a joy to be able to watch them all at this one time. And, you know, it's also good to see the guys who are coming into the league are just going to be hopefully as dominant as well.
Hey, close this out. Thomas, tell us where we can find you one more time, and tell everyone where they can find the article.
So you can find me, like, I write for Deadspin, I write for a couple other publications, hopefully a few more in the pipeline. I can't actually say anything yet. But if you want to follow me on Twitter, it's at Valentine Sport. I'll ramble. You can watch my ramblings. Occasionally I post film, just stuff that I like to see, you know. So if you want to follow me, cool. If not, hey, fair enough.
Hey, come on over to bonus time. Y'all know what time it is. For Thomas Valentine, Kadeem Simmons, I'm Charlie Touche. Thank you for tuning in this time. Make sure you catch us next time on Go Time. Already.
Make them lose their mind when it's your time. And it's show time. Going all out when it's go time. I ain't wasting no time. Gotta make them lose their mind when it's show time. Cause it's your time. Lay it on the line when it's go time. Don't waste no time. Gotta make them lose their mind when it's your time. And it's show time. Going all out when it's go time.
Charlie, before we talk about the person you mentioned earlier, I want to talk about someone. So the Washington Commanders on Tuesday released cornerback Cam Dantzler Sr. There's the face. Now, obviously, the Dolphins just picked up on Cam Smith in the draft, and let's be honest, the Dolphins aren't short at cornerback. You bringing in Cam Dantzler?
Tuesday's 24. Cam Dantzler was drafted by the Minnesota Vikings. I like Cam Dantzler a lot. Excuse me. I like Cam Dantzler a lot, and I like the Dolphins secondary a lot. I can't imagine. Like you know, it's all about timing. Like if this happened last year, absolutely you do it. Right, because then you had all type of DBs get hurt on the Dolphins last year. So you bring him in last year. You brought in Mackenzie Alexander last year. He got hurt. It's all everyone you brought in got hurt last year in your secondary. This year, bro, you already committed a couple $1 million to Nick Needham. That's injured. Well, he's coming back from an injury. You have friend of a podcast, Trill Williams, that can play safety or corner. You have Kader Kohu, the unsung hero that is just going to be phenomenal. You just drafted 20K Cam Smith. I don't think you bring in Cam Dantzler, bro. As much as I would want to, you have some, you know, and obviously I'm talking about people, maybe not bubble players, but then you got Verone McKinley too. I don't see a world where Cam Dantzler gets a couple $1 million to come in. If you hadn't paid a couple $1 million to Nick Needham, I would say yes. But Nick Needham is a part of your culture. You know what I'm saying? He's a part of your locker room. He's a Miami Dolphin. You wanna show the respect to those players, like, hey, we're taking care of our own, and we're giving you multiple chances to pull this off. They don't have any allegiance to a Cam Dantzler, but I would like him if there's a way to do it. But I don't think that. No, Egg Monogamy, what are you doing?
I was just about to say that, and that's the thing. It's like it's harsh on Noah. He's not going to get 5th year option. He's not going to get signed at the end of the season. It's, hey, come in and beat Noah Ibn, which isn't difficult, no offense. So
You know what, Kadeem? I think I take a L somewhere on the cap. And when I say take a L, we didn't even mention Deshaun Elliott. You know, Deshaun Elliott's on a 1-year contract. He survived the tweet that he put out about Lamar Jackson and having him come take to a spot. I don't know how he survived that, but something like that, something like Deshaun Elliott, and to be clear, Elliott's a safety, Densler's a corner. But to be clear, if there's a way where you ate $1 million to $3 million worth of dead cap, if it's possible to bring in Cam Densler, this is why you would do it. Xavier Howard, how much tread does he have on the tires? You know what I'm saying? How open is this window? You just drafted his replacement in 20K Cam Smith. You have Jalen Ramsey on the other side. He's not vintage Jalen Ramsey. So you're getting long in the tooth already. This is just for the next 2 years. You're going to have this cornerback room, this secondary together. Cam Densler is for the future. I bring him in. I do. I ain't gonna lie. I bring him in, and someone that we like on this podcast probably wouldn't make the team. Whether it's a Verone McKinley, Trill Williams, Nick Needham, Deshaun Elliott loses cap. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Noah. I said people we like on the podcast.
Listen. Noah made my birthday with the interception against the Steelers. I always like him for that alone.
Hey, that's cool, bro. Hey, I got a question though for you two. DeAndre Hopkins was released by the Arizona Cardinals, and June 1st is approaching, and it's basically the countdown to Cook. You know what I'm saying? Like the Dalvin Cook countdown has begun. Is he going to get released? Or cut? Are the Dolphins going to be in the Dalvin Cook sweepstakes? Now, I don't want to be the football fan or the Dolphin fan that has no idea how the cap works. The cap works. All right. You can't just have everybody you want. DeAndre Hopkins does not fit as far as cap goes with the Miami Dolphins. Is it even possible to pull off a DeAndre Hopkins transaction? Yes, it is. He's on record saying he doesn't mind playing for one season. So that's how you can make it work off the top. He's only going to play for one season wherever he wants to go. He wants to pursue a championship and play with a team that has a good front office. I don't know if the Dolphins fall in that criteria of a team having a good front office, because I do believe we have a good front office, but we also have had a scandal every single season. So I don't know if that, you know what I'm saying, the criteria for a good front office. That being said, if DeAndre Hopkins was a Miami Dolphin, how would the Dolphins look on offense? So how does that even work? So off the bat, I will say you're not running the same offense you did last year. It's not going to be the Waddle and Hill show and Trent Sherfield coming in motion and blocking like that. That's not what you're running no more. Craig Kraft is not going to do that no more. You have Braxton Berrios. You brought in Chosen Anderson. All these boys is like bubble players now. If you brought in DeAndre Hopkins, which I want to be very clear, I don't believe it happens at all. We're just talking about it because we have a responsibility, because we have a Miami Dolphins platform. That being said, if D-Hop was a Miami Dolphin, I would be a little upset because I didn't put my bets in, and then the line would change, and then it'll have the Dolphins like up on the line, and I'll be like, dang, I should have got in on them bets before we got here. But D-Hop will be on the outside, Tyreek Hill will be on the outside, and Waddle will be relegated to a slot receiver. So this is one of those things where it's like, yo, you don't need them. It'll be cool, whatever, but I don't think it's likely. The question I have for you two is, if you didn't have to worry about the cap and you had your pick at one of these players for the Miami Dolphins, are you going with Dalvin Cook for 1 year or DeAndre Hopkins for 1 year for the Miami Dolphins? We'll start with our guest, Thomas. What you got for us?
Hopkins, no brainer. You know, you want to be in 11 personnel as often as you can. I think the versatility you have with Hopkins, you know, he's an X. You know, he's a true X. With Waddle and Hill, you can rotate them in and out of the slot. It's just you want as many playmakers as you can. You know, that's how you win. You've got a good quarterback that can get the ball to playmakers. It's a no-brainer for me. Like I like Dalvin Cook, but as a running back at 27, 28 years old, behind what? Like I don't want to insult you guys coming on the podcast.
This is a safe place.
The offensive line needs work, man. Like the Dolphins don't have a rich history with drafting and developing offensive lines, which is kind of why you've dipped into free agency to get guys like Teron Armstead. It's obviously it's nice. He's awesome when he's on the field and healthy. He's awesome. It's a necessity to have to go and get him though. Do I trust Dalvin Cook behind that offensive line? Nah, man. Like I'd rather take the lumps with Devon Chain and Jeff Wilson and Raheem Mostert rather than sink a bit of guaranteed money into Cook. I'd rather have Hopkins. The only thing is, like, I with the cap stuff, I kind of look at the deal that Odell Beckham got with the Ravens as a comparison to what any deal for Hopkins might look like. You know, 18 years, not 18 years. My God. Wow. Yeah, they won him for a while. 18 mil, 13.5 guaranteed. Hopkins probably gets more than that, right? Especially in terms of guaranteed money. If it's a year, we're looking at like 17, 18 mil guaranteed. If like you said, if cap wasn't a problem, like I want Hopkins on my team all day. You know, like he still has some of, if not the best hands in the NFL. A pure possession receiver that doesn't need to beat guys with speed. And like obviously, like we said, Dolphins aren't a yak first team. So you get the ball to a spot, you put him in that spot. Like you're winning games, man. Like you're winning games.
What you got for us, Kadeem?
Yeah, I take Hopkins. The Dolphins right now, there's a battle for wide receiver 3. And there's probably a battle as well for like tight end 1, which probably Durham Smythe wins, but Durham Smythe isn't injecting fear into many opposing defenses. You throw in a wide receiver trio of DeAndre Hopkins, Tyreek Hill, and Jalen Waddle. Legitimately, name me a better wide receiver trio in the league. I honestly don't think there is. So from that point alone, it's like on paper, you've got the best wide receiving trio in the league. And because of that, you say on paper and then on the field, name a single defense that can match up with those 3 guys alone. And that at that point, it's like, okay, now we've really got to go DB heavy to make sure that we've got at least, you know, one corner over every single one of these guys. And when teams do that and the box is light, McDaniel's going to go, we're going to run all over you and try and stop us. And then, okay, they're going to stack the box because we've done that. You just left the wide receiver wide open and Tua will find that person. So, listen, and you know, it's if you're Eric Ezukanma, you're going, dude, really? Like, are we really doing this? If you're, you know, Charles Nansen, you're going, dude, really? But if you're Tua, you're going, yes. So, yeah, Dalvin Cook's a dude. The Dolphins don't need running back help. Dalvin Cook will be a nice addition. The Dolphins don't need wide receiver help either, but you can't say no to DeAndre Hopkins. And very quickly, Washington also released guard Andrew Norwell, which I think the Dolphins should look into bringing him in because the Dolphins could do with a lot of help on the offensive line. And if you're going to go up, get someone who is available, I will go get, you know, an offensive lineman where possible.
Can I throw out an offensive lineman name real quick?
What we got?
Why is Dalton Risner still a free agent? You know, guys that really strong.
That.
I tweeted that out. I just like, am I missing something? He's 27 years old. He's been an above average guard in the league for a few years now. He's still not with the team.
Man, you know, I don't know how these guys, well, I do know how they do it. They investigate, right? And some of these teams, and for the life of me, the Dolphins won't do something like pursue a player. I'm like, yo, what's going on here? And it turns out there was a reason behind it. And next thing you know, it's like, hey, that's why they get paid and I don't, right? So I don't know what happens when they do their investigating and talk about a player, and obviously they're privy to a lot more information than we are when it comes to maybe not even just injury history, but personal history too. So I have no idea, bro. But I always resort to I just gotta trust them. You know what I'm saying? I gotta trust. Look, I do know what a championship window looks like, and I do know if I don't get one in that window, then now we have to talk about people jobs. So do whatever y'all gotta do. But this is our championship window within the next 2.5 years. So y'all gotta figure it out.
Oopsie.